Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Brandon Boyd and Dr. Josh Lee.
Oh, woo. What's up, Budapest? Let's go.
Let's go, yeah!
With everybody. Yeah. Woo. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Man, go.
Thank you. Thank you. Love you guys. You know, before we get started here, I do need to make a mention that I think is very important, because I wouldn't get the opportunity to be up here on stage, to travel to 43 countries, to be here in Budapest for the first time, if it wasn't for my amazing girlfriend, my wife, Jamie Boyd, right here in the front. I think it's important to recognize that, because I talked to a few people and they were saying about how you've been able to do this and how you've been able to do that. But the reality is without my wife being home to watch 6 children, I would not be able to do what I do every day. So if anyone's the goat of our family, it's Jamie Boyd. All right. Now, how many of you have ever heard of Impulse? Boy, we got some amazing testimonials of people over the last 18 to 24 months, and what we want to show you guys today is some of the things that we put together since the last convention that we had. And we believe that with what we released at that time back in Croatia, with what we have now, that things have completely changed the game. We believe it's changed our own personal trading. We believe that it's changed a lot of other people's personal trading. We know there's people here right now that for whatever reason, they were not making money before. They're making money today. It goes to show that with the right mindset, with proper risk management, with having good tools and strategies and simplicity, that things can change for you. And we believe also with all of the different things that you've been taught today by all the educators, the strategies, the scanners, the tools, and all those kinds of things, that you guys have the ability to succeed. This is the greatest time to be involved in I Am Master Academy right now. I'm going to tell you, when I got started, there's a few of you who know here, when I got started, we had one tool and it was $500 US to sign up. 500, one tool. But I got started, and 8 years later, I'm here today, and this is the best the company has ever been, and yet it's only gonna get better. Because if you think about it, you're paying about a third of what we used to pay, but you're getting far more value, and we hope that Impulse is a part of that. So let's go ahead and get into this. We talk about how Impulse is price direction made simple, and every arrow that we put inside of the system has 50 market variables, and what these do is they help keep you to focus in the direction of price, because all that we care about, whether we're doing the 1-minute chart, the 5-minute chart, the hour chart, the 4-hour chart, all we care about is where is price going. If we can know with objective trade reasoning and not emotion where price is going to go, we have an opportunity to make money. Now, we released the overlays macro toolbar back in Croatia. How many of you have had a chance to use this before, at least one of the tools? Okay? All right. There are more that are actually coming, but we want to focus on a few that have been an absolute game changer. So some of them are the macro trend, the macro pivots, the micro pivots, the high-low tool, the macro volume, macro divergence, macro monics, and macro time. These are ones that we announced in Croatia. Now, the macro trend was one of the very first ones that we ever talked about, and we started training on when we got back on Go Live. We landed from being on the plane. We literally drove straight to our office after being on the plane for many, many hours. We went to the office and we started immediately teaching on Impulse at that time. And we started talking about the macro trend. Now, I want to give you guys just a simple definition of the macro trend to help you understand how powerful this is, because all I did was one post, and I said, this one thing right here has an opportunity. I had to use the word opportunity for compliance. I said it has the opportunity to be a game changer for you. And I just showed a screenshot. We're going to show you some of those today. The macro trend helps you automatically identify major shifts in the market. So when there's a major shift in price, what you'll see is that the macro trend arrow pops up. Now, when you look at your screen and you log into Impulse, when you get a chance, it's not going to be that big. We made it this big so that it's easy for you to see on the screen. But you will see that there's just basically these little arrows on there, and that'll be the macro trend arrow. That'll become very familiar to you. And so like in this example that we have here, you can see when that macro trend popped up with that major shift in price, all of a sudden what started happening to price and the candles and the arrows, it started going in an upward direction. Works on every single time frame. As another example, macro trend arrow, if all of a sudden price is starting to come down, you've got a sell opportunity. We talk about when those opportunities are good to actually get into the sell, but what you can see is that there's been a major shift in price in a downward direction. That macro trend arrow will pop up, and I'm telling you, I can tell you from our own personal experience, it is an absolute freaking game changer. That's about as compliant as I can tell you. It is an absolute game changer. It's something that we use on our personal trading every single day. Now, this is kind of interesting. So we're looking at Bitcoin on here, and what's cool is the different time frames that you trade, the different assets that you trade, which by the way doesn't matter on Impulse, it may show something different. So for example, on Bitcoin, we're looking at the day chart here. You can see that we got a macro trend arrow up. Then you can see on the 1 hour chart that we got a macro trend arrow down. Okay, so different time frame. And then you look once again at the 1 minute chart, we got a macro trend arrow down showing that price is shifting in a downward direction. So depending on if you're doing scalping, intraday trading, if you're doing swing trading, position trading, it doesn't matter. The macro trend arrow will pop up on every single time frame, giving you that opportunity to know, okay, this is a good chance to know that price is more than likely headed in a different direction. So what does that mean? That means if all of a sudden I get a up arrow on the macro trend, and this looks like that it's headed in an upward direction, I need to start potentially looking for buys. If all of a sudden I get a down arrow, I need to potentially start looking for sells. And we help you identify when those good times will begin and when that actually pops up to help you keep you in the direction of price. And so what this did is when we put together this simple tool called macro trend, is it helped give people an understanding of not only are we teaching you how to follow the direction of price, but we're giving you an automated signal, an actual arrow that you can look at now and say, rather than me guessing, rather than me thinking, rather than me using emotion, this is giving me the proof based upon these variables that price is now shifting in another direction. Can you guys see the power of something like this? Okay, this is huge. Because look, I've talked just even since lunch when I came back, the amount of people that came to me personally, and I know Josh has had this as well. Bro, Impulse has changed the game. I went from XYZ to XYZ, and this person said this happened and that happened. And I can tell you, my friends, if you have struggled with trading, give this an opportunity, because the rest of what we show you right now is going to take it to another level. One thing that we want to make sure that you guys do is that you pay attention to the very end of what we're about to announce to you. Take it to another level. How many of you guys want access at some point very soon to be able to get alerts so that you know with a sound that the macro trend or any of the other tools pops up and makes a ding to let you know that you now have been notified that that opportunity is there, and therefore you now don't forget? Okay? Make sure to stay to the end because we got some details on that. So, with the rest of the time that we have, I want to turn it over to the man that I met over 20 years ago. We met back in college. Josh went on to become a doctor. I stayed in the industry, continued to move forward. And a number of years ago, I said, hey, Josh, you need to check this out, this trading thing. It's absolutely amazing. And without giving any testimonials of Dr. Lee, you can see that with what he used to do, with what he does now, is a testimonial in and of itself. Guys, give it up for Dr. Lee.
Awesome. Thank you, buddy. Thank you so much, and thank you, Brandon, for that introduction. And the macro trend arrow. Is the macro trend arrow amazing or what? This is now something that's important. As you're trying to build the business, you need tools that not only work in terms of trading, but you need them that are proprietary, right? If you can get these things on any corner of the street, then they're not that useful to you in the business building side of what we do. And so you can know that everything that you find on Impulse is proprietary. It doesn't exist on any other scanner, on any other company in the world. And that's an important value element that you can hang your hat on. All right, so a couple other things that we want to talk about today. When we released the macro toolbar, there were several different price action analysis tools that are all designed to just make your life easier. The macro trend arrow is a perfect example of this because you don't know when that major market shift is occurring. And so when the price is going up and you're like, oh, this is a big, beautiful trend, don't you hate placing a buy and all of a sudden it just turns into a massive downtrend, right? But the macro trend arrow helps you to know when that will occur. So the next thing we want to talk about are called the macro pivot and micro pivot. Macro and micro, especially with an international audience, these terms just mean kind of the big picture perspective versus kind of the zoomed in perspective. So micro, kind of in terms of microscope, you're zooming in on the price. Now, when most of you look at a chart, you see all of these waves. And it's like, which waves are important? And for most people, they don't know. Which wave is important? Which candlestick is important? And so what we did is we developed rules, proprietary systems to identify the actual important pivot points in the marketplace so that you don't have to. These analyze the price action for you. Now, most of the traditional teachings within trading teach about horizontal support and resistance. And even though it has its place, what I would suggest to you is that the more accurate way to look at the markets is through a diagonal relationship. The reason being is because price, it goes up and down, right? Time, it goes from left to right. So when you combine a vertical line with a horizontal line, what do you get in between? A diagonal relationship. And so the relationship between price and time forms these wave patterns, and when you connect them, you end up with these diagonal forms of support and resistance. It's one thing to tell you that, but it's another thing to provide a tool that will automatically identify it for you. Because I can tell you all day long, this is important, this is useful, but unless you can go home and you can identify it, then it's not really that effective. And so what these do is these identify these types of diagonal support and resistance, and then they enlighten your mind, they increase your awareness of where the actual breakout and retests will occur. And so in our Go Live sessions, we teach on a daily basis, both through live analysis as well as our Master the Skill training sessions, exactly how to see these things. So in this simple example, this was a diagonal level of overhead resistance. Price broke out to the upside. It retested, but notice how that retest kind of came down a little bit further. It's because it's interacting with a diagonal relationship and not a horizontal one. And then it continues in the upward direction. So this helps to overcome some of the concepts like fake outs and things that people often interpret in the marketplace, because now you see the market more clearly. Here's a downtrending example. The macro pivots and micro pivot tools will automatically identify underlying support to where when price breaks out from that, now all of a sudden you can identify the simple breakout, retest, and then continuation move. And when you use Impulse to identify that primary direction, it makes your life easy, because Impulse will only show you that underlying support in a downtrend. It'll only show you overhead resistance that you want to break through in an uptrend. That keeps you focused on the right direction. The next that we want to review is the high-low tool. This, too, is a proprietary tool that we have developed that is really a unique tool for a number of reasons. Number one is that it automatically identifies major price swings. Have you ever heard somebody say, this is a swing high or this is a swing low? But then you go on your own and you look at the chart and they say, okay, identify it. And you see like 300 pivot points. You're like, I don't know which one it is, right? Have you ever felt that? Well, now you no longer have to feel that because this automatically identifies it for you. So let me show you. Here's a simple chart. Looks like an uptrend. And if I asked every person in this room and I said, identify the recent swing highs and the recent swing lows. Now, because you can see price in hindsight, you've got a chance, but really there would be many interpretations of where these things would be. But now with the high-low tool, we give you the ability to automatically see them so that you don't have to figure it out. Again, it analyzes the price action for you. You see, most indicators, moving average lines, Ichimoku cloud, Bollinger Bands, Keltner channel, all the normal technical indicators that exist, these actually don't analyze price action. They only tell you direction, maybe some momentum indications, etc. But there are very few, if any, tools that truly analyze price action and give you useful information that you can use as part of your trade decisions. So when somebody now says, uptrend creates higher highs and higher lows. You've probably heard that expression from various educators. Well, now you can objectively say, yes, indeed it is, creating higher highs and higher lows. If you're in a downtrend, you can now objectively say it is creating lower lows and lower highs. And so it's no longer guesswork. You no longer have to figure it out for yourself. It identifies this for you. One of the cool things about the high-low tool is that when you have created a new high and you see it's pushed beyond a recent swing high, after price pulls back, where the secondary trend lines cross down, as soon as they cross back up, it indicates that price is ready to continue in the direction of the trend. And again, you can tune into our sessions to get more details on that, but it provides a beautiful, objective way to know whether the trend is likely to continue or not. This next thing, and this is going to look like a lot of detail, and Brandon and I, we actually stay away from most, I would just say, complex trading theory, trading strategy. There's a lot of really good ones out there, Wyckoff theory, smart money concepts, and they're good, they work, but they're very complicated for most people. And so we've chosen very intentionally to kind of stay away from that just because it's hard to duplicate. That's just the truth. But, however, what the high-low tool has provided is a way for us to identify a known pattern in the market that is commonly known in the trading world as the master pattern. This is a pattern that repeats itself every day on every time frame. But without this tool, you can't identify it. It's consistent, it happens frequently, but it requires something to do the interpretation. Otherwise, it's left to subjectivity, which is your opinion, my opinion, their opinion, and you just never know whether you've identified it correctly. But with the high-low tool, this now allows us to do it. And for those who have tuned into our sessions before, you know this as the three-phase pattern breakout. And so essentially what it does is it identifies an initial consolidation phase, a following expansion phase, and then the trending phase. So the trending phase is what we actually trade. That's what everybody wants. You want to get in the trend, but you're stuck in consolidation. You're stuck in the expansion phase where price is choppy, right, where there's high volatility. And so what Impulse will now allow you to provide, this is the only tool on planet Earth that I at least know of that will allow you to do this. So if you're curious about that, if you want to learn what that master pattern is, what the three-phase pattern breakout strategy is, utilizing Impulse, tune into our sessions and we'll teach exactly how to do that. So with Impulse, we pride ourselves on keeping things as simple as possible. We provide a lot of background detail, but ultimately we want to keep things simple. So you can apply this to any time frame, any asset, and honestly, any trading style. So whether you're doing short-term trading, long-term fixed risk to reward, position style trading, etc., you can utilize this. So we do have more to come, and this is exciting. We have the macro trend arrow alerts, as Brandon had said. So how many of you would like to get alerts every time one of those little macro trend arrows forms on the chart?
Come on.
Okay?
Let's go.
Corporate, you hear that? Okay, just kidding. No, we're excited about it too, and they will be coming soon. We also have macro monics. So those harmonic patterns, there's also complex macro harmonic patterns that we've identified in the marketplace, and this will identify those for you as well. And then we have these other ones, macro divergence, etc. So where to learn about Impulse? Well, Brandon and I have made this easy, but we haven't done it alone. We actually have a ton of Impulse certified educators all throughout IM Mastery Academy who speak different languages, and many of you know them because you all tune into their sessions. Let's give them a big round of applause for their participation in expanding